Today on Lady Tradie, we are going to wall mount a flat screen TV. So there are two parts to wall mounting a TV. The first is to mount the brackets onto the back of the TV itself. And the second is to put the plate that it hangs on onto the wall. So mounting the brackets onto the back of the TV is, I think, the easy part. So we're going to start with that today. Making sure that you mount them the correct way up. So what you want is for the string to be at the bottom that releases this pin. Okay, you can see it moving up and down. Okay, that's what it holds onto. You also know it's the correct way up, whether it has a string on it or not, because obviously you want the hooks to be in this direction because they're fitting on top of the plate. So if that's sitting on there, the hooks fit on over the top of that like this. All right, so that's the first step today. What we need to do this is we need 2 of these brackets. We also need the screws that it comes with. So most of these kits that you can purchase will come with all of the parts that you need. You just need a screwdriver and a drill. You'll have the screws and wall mates if necessary that will hold the bracket onto the wall, and another set with a variety of different screws and spacers that you can use for putting the brackets onto the back of the TV. Okay, now you're not going to use all of these, you just use whatever is appropriate to your TV because every TV is slightly different. Now, if you look at the back of the TV, there are some screw holes or holes with thread inside that you can see, and that's where we're going to screw these onto. Now this TV has been hung before, hence the dust, and you can see the marks where it has been hung before. So I'm going to screw into that now and show you how to do that process. It is fairly straightforward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up. You can see I'm lining that up with the holes in the back of the TV. And then I'm going to screw it in with the screws that are provided in those 2 places. So there's usually one at the top and one at the bottom that we screw into. And then you go over to the other side and do exactly the same thing. Now I'm going to use just a single small spacer on each screw hole. The reason that I'm doing that is simply so that it's a bit easier to hang. It just holds this out a little bit from the TV, makes it easier to hang, but also gives me a bit of room to get to where my cables and things connect at the sides. You may not like to do that, it's entirely up to you. So the spacer actually goes in between the bracket and the TV. Okay, so once you decide which one you're going to go through, I do that. So I'm decided that I'm going through this hole, and I put the screw in and the spacer on the back. Okay, and I am using a drill because, like I've said previously, I'm lazy, but you really want to take it easy. Now don't do it too tight, take your time before you tighten it. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing in the next position. At the bottom, And I'm just going to pop it in and give it a little twist myself just to hold it in place. And I will screw that in. Now again, I haven't tightened them yet. That way, if I do want to change anything, it's not so tedious to move it. But it's just good practice as well, I guess. Especially when you are trying to get things level, etc. Don't tighten it until you've got everything in the right place. Okay. So exactly the same again. See, if it's not tight, it also gives me room to lift it and move it around, get the next screw lined up. If I did that top one super tight straight away, it's going to make that really difficult to do. So I'm going to go through now, tighten them. There we go. Okay, so the easy part is done. So now we have to mount it onto the wall. So we need to get that bracket up. Now I'm going to use a stud finder today. Most fairly big walls like this have timber structures inside. So that's what I mean when I say I'm looking for a stud. I'm not looking for a man, although that might be nice too. I'm just looking for the beams that are inside the wall, because if I can screw into the beams, then the weight of my TV is going to be supported easily. Now, I installed another TV recently, and it was a smaller wall and not load bearing. It only had a diagonal piece of timber down in it, so I could only drill it into one stud, or one drill into timber. So if you can't get it into timber, there's a couple of options. What you could do is get a thin piece of timber and screw the timber in. So using lots of screws into the plasterboard and then mounting the TV onto that. You can get white laminated timber and things like that from most hardware stores that will fulfill that purpose. And then that's distributing the weight. If it's a smallish TV, then I would probably just go straight into the plaster, but using multiple screws. So across the bracket that you put on the wall, I would be putting in, maybe 4 at the top and 4 at the bottom, just to distribute the weight across the wall. Now, if it's a large TV, I would not recommend doing that at all. I would be saying use the piece of timber or something behind it, or find the studs in the wall, because you don't want a TV falling down out of your wall. Okay, so there's a couple of ways to do this. A stud finder is easy. If you could borrow one of somebody like I have today, that saves you a bit of money. The other thing that you could do is use your drill. Some people that know what they're doing will tap on the wall. It does sound different when there's a piece of timber right behind it. Some people, and I've seen these on YouTube, use a really fine drill bit, and they think where those bits of timber are, and they do exploratory drilling, and they drill into the wall, sometimes multiple times, runs of holes in the wall, until they find the timber. And you found it, because when you're drilling into it, it's much more difficult than just drilling into the plasterboard. But I'm going to stick with this today to be safe, because it's a fairly heavy TV, and I think it's important to make sure that you get it right. So they all operate slightly differently. They'll have instructions with them, but generally speaking, you press the button and you hold it down, you put it on the wall, and I'll just turn it around. See, there are lights. They light up in the central location when you found that stud. Okay, so it is a matter of first marking roughly where you want your TV to be hung that feels comfortable when you're sitting on the lounge, and then look for studs in that area. Okay, so I have one there. I'm just going to mark that. I'm hoping it goes up, yep. Yeah. Okay, so it's all the way up there, which is great because that's roughly where I want to hang it. I've marked the central position of my wall, so just a reminder that if you want it central, you find the total length of the wall and divide it by 2 and mark the center. And so I've already done that. So I really want to find some studs on either side of that central point. If it can be even, then all the better. And then I will drill into those. Okay. Another one there. Little wings on it that will hold it into that plasterboard. Now I'm aiming to screw directly into the studs, so that should not be a problem for me today. So now I'm going to hold this up and just mark where I potentially could screw and see how that aligns with the marks I've made where the studs are in the wall. I've already marked my central position, so just a reminder that when finding the center of a wall, you measure the entire length of the wall and divide it by 2. So I marked that earlier, and I'm just going to line the center of the wall up with the center of this at around the height that I feel is a comfortable height for hanging the TV and sitting on the lounge. It's really great, these brackets, and they're designed for this purpose so that you can actually slide the TV along once it's mounted. That way, if you couldn't centralize the wall mount, you can actually slide the TV along and just centralize the TV, which is fabulous. And that's what I'm going to do today. Okay, I like to sort of place my drill and washer, my screw and my washer in there prior, because I find it a bit awkward holding it all up at once. So I've got it kind of pre-loaded, ready to go with my pre-drilled hole. And fingers crossed. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it sticking out a little bit so I can get it level. I'm going to mark and pre-drill my other 3 holes, and then I will screw all 4 in nice and tight, and then it is ready to hang. Okay, I've got my level on and it looks perfect, so I'm just going to put a mark where I, oopsies, want my last 3 to go. Okay. Oh. Keep dropping it.